the leader of the opposition's opinion on the James Philbert issue. So, have you been able to make contact? Let's go. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Tony.
Morning, Dr. Rowley. I'd like to get a couple of responses from you. First of all, the James Philbert issue. You're a politician, Mr. Warren is a politician, so therefore you'll have your own political agendas to perpetuate. What are the facts as you understand them?
Well, I got my information from the newspapers. I have no additional information except I saw that Mr. Philbert was virtually summarily dismissed by way of being told, having been asked to stay on during a difficult situation. Mr. Philbert agreed to stay on, and the state had some difficulties in appointing a commissioner of police. So his staying on was extended 1, 2, 3, 4 times. But the last extension, he was asked to stay on for 3 months. And that 3 months ended end of September. So we expected at the end of September that Mr. Philbert would have left the service. Then I saw where he was given a letter like Friday or Wednesday, and said you'll be leaving some day hence, before the end of the period that he had agreed to be acting commissioner. And at the same time, what drew my attention was the fact that the other deputy commissioner of police was asked to come back from vacation. He was on vacation for 10 days and was asked to curtail it and come to replace Mr. Philbert. So this tells me something unusual has happened, because if the commissioner is out there for a 10-day leave and he's on that leave and 10 days expire sometime in the next couple of days or thereabouts, what is it that happened that caused him to be called back from this leave and to ask Mr. Philbert to leave immediately before his term ends in September? So something would have happened to have caused this. And then I saw the head of the police service welfare division saying that it is a victory for them because they have been pursuing Mr. Philbert's removal by way of complaints to the Prime Minister, the Minister, and the Police Service Commission. Now, I find all of this very unacceptable, because one has to understand the treatment of an officer has to be in a certain way. Mr. Philbert has served this country very well. He retired. The state asked him to stay on. He didn't ask to stay on. It was the state that asked Mr. Philbert to stay on, and he agreed to stay on to facilitate a process. So nobody should be saying that he did something that was wrong. And then any officer working in any agency, if he is to be removed from office, there has to be some way of doing it. So clearly the way he was removed sends a signal that something has happened. We don't know what that caused the commission, because one has to understand it is only the Police Service Commission that can appoint or remove the commissioner. So the Police Service Commission intervened and did this, and I'm asking, why did the commission act? What caused it to act in this way, to call back Officer Williams from his vacation, to ask Mr. Philbert to go immediately, and the police service spokesman saying it's a victory for us because we have been complaining to the political directorate about Mr. Philbert. And this is an unacceptable way to treat with officers of the state, especially in Mr. Philbert's case, where I don't think he deserved that treatment. And my view, my personal view, and the view of the office I hold, is that this action in treating with Mr. Philbert was clearly meant to indicate that he has been in fact summarily dismissed. And if that is so, then I've heard from the likes of Mr. Warner, the political directorate, that they have the power to do so. And I'm saying, where is this in the context of an independent police commission that is supposed to prevent politicians from even thinking that they could do that? And when you bear in mind that the Attorney General had threatened to do it before, and it has now been done in this way. And then I saw in the same news release, the chairman of the Police Service Commission, when asked to explain what has happened, said, ask Mr. Philbert. Now, this is no way to run a country. We are playing fast and loose with our institutions and our comfort and our securities. And one more thing, the police service is a paramilitary organization. There are men under arms with rank. right? I am very disturbed when I see junior officers taking credit for removing the top officer in the police service on the basis that they were making complaints to the political directorate all along, and now they have got a victory. Now, I think this country must take note of that, because it is my view, if that is so, as said by Mr. Ramisa, then it is clear that Mr. Philbert did not have the full support of officers who, in a paramilitary organization, are duty-bound to provide full support to their superiors. That wasn't happening in the police service.
Dr. Rowley, I'm wondering, as opposition leader, do you intend to write to the PSC asking for an explanation?
I don't intend to do that at all. I've made it public. I've asked for the explanation publicly. I said, immediately I saw this, I spoke publicly saying that the Police Service Commission must issue a statement of clarification. And if that statement is not forthcoming from the Commission, then one has to conclude that the information available to us, as I have concluded, that the information available to us is that the Police Service Commission has been acting on the instructions of others. And the others here, I'm talking about the political directorate. And then, when I heard Mr. Warner saying that if the government feels that the commissioner should be removed, the government should be allowed so to do. The government does not have the power to remove the commissioner of police in that way. There's a police service commission to prevent these kinds of excesses on behalf of the government.
In fact, Dr. Rowley, just to add to the point, if I'm incorrect, I would like to be corrected. I am certain I heard the Prime Minister say that if the man not performing, they will fire him.
Well, the question is this: does the government have any recognition and any respect for the Police Service Commission, or is the government seeing the Police Service Commission as an extension of the arm of the state and not an independent body, independent of the cabinet? We have a constitution. The cabinet has powers. They have wide powers, but those powers are circumscribed by putting some authority in the hands of independent bodies. What we're seeing here are individuals in government who are not acknowledging any borders or any boundaries, and that is dangerous.
Have you heard anything about, well, we have been talking about the matter with Dr. Browne. Have you heard anything about that at all?
Well, I spoke with Dr. Browne, and he told me that he was not invited to the function. But that is not an issue. Being invited to a function is not an issue, except that one wants to see it in the context of decorum and decency and so on. It is up to Mr. Warner and his ministry to invite who they want to invite to a ministry function. I'm not arguing that. What I find distasteful is for Mr. Warner to go to Diego Martin Central, come into office and meet the overpass built, meet the lift shaft built, and I presume meet the orders placed for the lift. And now that the lifts are ready for commissioning, he, having done absolutely nothing, he and his government, having met it in place, would make an issue of not inviting the minister, so that because he's punishing him for not caring about the people and not providing the facility, and he is taking credit for doing it and giving the impression that his government has done that, when in fact the opposite is true. What Mr. Warner did the other day was commission something that was built before the election. When you build an elevator shaft, you build it to a certain dimension to receive a particular piece of equipment which you will order and place in there. All that happened before Mr. Warner became a minister. Now that the thing is being commissioned, it falls to him as minister to commission it. And he goes and creates the impression that the minister before didn't do his job, didn't do it, and therefore he is publicly castigating him, and he now is taking credit that his government has done so. The point here is that you cannot trust these people with even little things. They will be dishonest with even little things. All he had to do was to go and commission the thing and all of us happy, but to go and give the impression that it was something that he and his government has done which the previous government didn't do, and for that he was punishing the minister by not inviting him, is quite distasteful. It simply brings to mind again that you cannot trust these people. They will not be honest about anything.
Dr. Rowley, thank you very much for talking with us this morning. All right, you're welcome. Dr. Keith Rowley there, the leader of the opposition, and I agree with Dr. Rowley 100% totally on both counts. One, the police commissioner, the need for the Police Service Commission to see why it took that decision. And the same thing he noted is what I noted this morning when I talked to you about Mr. Warner saying, if the government feels whatever, showing,
in fact,
indicating
while
that,
he was talking,
that the government had a say.
While he was talking, I started thinking back, but wait, the Prime Minister is on record as saying, if Gibbs didn't perform, we'll fire him.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if that is in the same vein, because Mr. Gibbs was appointed under a different type of arrangement, as we keep reminding people all the time. And therefore, Mr. Gibbs is now on contract, and the contract must say something, we assume.
So what is the role of the Police Service Commission?
So that is what I wanted.
Then you don't need a Police Service Commission.
That's the question I would, when it comes to the appointment of a police commissioner. Now, it was the Police Service Commission, remember, Tony Lee, that when that started the process, executed the process in terms of the screening, hired the company from outside to do the screening and so on. That came via the Police Service Commission, if you remember very well. So that if it is that Mr. Gibbs is now on a contract, and it's a 3-year contract, there are stipulations one expect in that contract that would talk about performance, or lack of it, as the case may be. So I'm not sure that I'm marrying that yet. But I really agree with Dr. Rowley on the fact that the PSC, via its chairman, has to say why it took that decision.
Let me repeat what I said before the 9 o'clock break. I wait on the voices of commentators and those who write opinions on this particular matter, because when Manning was remember that time Manning, they accused Manning of interfering with the Police Service Commission, was it? I can't remember which police commissioner it is. And they start to cuss Manning left, right and center, and rightfully so. So it comes again, recently the matter with the Attorney General, all the commentators have gone silent. You have another issue here of the Police Service Commission now. I'm waiting on the commentators again.